Take a look at this. Reaper on Linux, and yes, those are Windows plugins. And this guy? It's just big enough to cover the PC running it. Back in 2024, I attempted to use this chonker to make a silent digital audio workstation. It worked, but I ended up needing a fan to keep things from getting melty. But that got me thinking, could I go fanless? My first attempt involved this N150 powered Radxa X4. No problems running Reaper, but this fan? It's a bit loud, and if you unplugged it, it kinda got too hot to touch. Up next was an Orange Pi 5 Plus, no fan, and its ARM. That means running Windows plugins required using Box86 with Wine, and it couldn't keep up. What about a goth hedgehog? This is the Cyber X1 from MeLE, and this top, well, it's what baby Legos have nightmares about. But it does come with an SD card reader, 2 USB 3 holes, and 3 display outputs if you count USB-C. And MeLE claims it can run on Ubuntu, Debian, and Linux. We'll try that out. But first, I want to pop the lid and see what's inside this silicon porcupine. Well, it looks like the N150 CPU lives under the spikes and this bubblegum pulls heat from not much. Is the NVMe drive made by someone I've heard of? No, but I can pronounce it. And it looks like the bottom's cooling the storage, but most of the heat will end up in the spikes. But is this going to be enough to keep the CPU from thermal throttling? You see, we need to pull off a balancing act. Watch this. If I simulate a 20% load across all cores, the N150 does an okay job staying around 3 GHz. But if we hit it with a 50% load, that drops to around 2.8 GHz. And at 100%, we're down to just above 2 GHz. And for this to work, this case will need to keep the N150 cool enough for those higher clocks. And that's going to be the real test. Now, normally when I set up a DAW, it looks like this. X11 for the display server, XFCE for the desktop manager, and Jack for the audio server. But we're gonna mix things up a bit. Wayland for the display server, GNOME for the desktop, and that newfangled pipewire. Alright, let's say a prayer to an elder deity and get to it. Welcome to GNOME. It's so bouncy. The first thing I'm going to do is open settings and change the power mode to performance and pop over and just make sure the audio interface is detected. There it is. Up next, I'm heading over to Pavu Control, disabling onboard audio and changing the interface profile to Pro Audio. Now, I need to open GNOME extensions and off to the store where a search for PipeWire will show PipeWire settings. I'll click install, agree to all the things, and there we go. Now I can easily set the sample rate and buffer size. 48K 128 is a good default, so I'm going to leave that alone. Now I need to crack open a terminal and install some goodies. I'm going to need Jack example tools, pipewire-jack, and QPW graph. So it's time to install Reaper, and for the love of flying spaghetti monster, don't install this as a flat pack. That is not from Reaper. It will cause you problems. Download Reaper from the website, extract the archive, and just run the installer. How many of you know the round-trip latency of your audio interface? That's the time it takes the audio signal to enter the input of a device, get processed by the PC, and exit the output. The lower the better, and not every USB hole is created equal. I'm going to connect an audio noodle to the first input and the first output of the interface and have a look. Back on the desktop, I have QPW graph open, and in the terminal, I'm going to run Jack I/O delay using pipewire-jack. And there it is. And we can connect the first input and the first output, and out pops our round-trip latency. I'm seeing 8.1 milliseconds on the USB 2 port, and just a smidge over 8 on USB 3. Now these are strangely similar, and that's great, since it means we can use either one. Now if we try to open Reaper, we get an error. That's because Reaper expects Jack, ULSA, or Pulse. So I'm going to close that, and in a terminal, launch Reaper using pipewire-jack. And check this out. Audio on Linux. This is the Reaper session I use for one of my podcasts. And we have expanders, native EQs, Windows EQs, and I tossed in a couple of Windows plugins just for funsies. Then there's this chonker. It's leveling audio in real time. And oh yeah, I have a dynamic EQ hanging out over here as well. But my goal is to run this session for 10 minutes while keeping an eye on 3 things. The first being Xruns. If the system can't keep up, we'll get an Xrun, and that means it clicks and pops in the audio, so immediate fail. Number 2, CPU temp. We don't want the Cyber X1 to overheat, causing number 3, the CPU frequency to drop, because that will cause our number 1 problem, Xruns. It's a vicious cycle. So I ended up letting it run for a little over 10 minutes, and the temp stopped out at 60C, with a CPU hovering right around 2.8 GHz. But look at this, 0 Xruns. And hey, the case didn't melt. Like seriously, if I'd bought this for a hand warmer, I would have returned it. What's not to like about our goth hedgehog? Well, you can't fault the performance. According to Geekbench, the Cyber X1 can tango with a not-so-silent Radxa X4 and Panda IOTA, and I didn't have any issues running Reaper with this critter either. All the USB holes on one side, I was a big fan of that. I guess the spikes could be a problem if you planned on snuggling with it, but, oh right.
RAMpocalypse.
You might have noticed DDR5 prices have gone up a smidge. And it's caused the price of the X1 to go from, like, not bad for a fanless mini PC to yeah, you might want to hold off until things calm down. I'll put a link in the description, but there's no point even mentioning the price since it'll change 5 times before the video's posted. But yeah, a well-built, silent N150 mini PC that doesn't turn into a space heater under load, and better yet, knows how to Linux. And hey, if you dig the Linux audio content, let me know in the comments, and maybe tap the like button on your way down there. It really helps the channel. But that's gonna do it for this one, so I want you to get out there and make something awesome.